Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
Good. We are recording the Friday after the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft, where the Giants have taken a major turn towards a new, hopefully, successful destination, improvement. We lagging
Sure.
again?
Yeah, sure. You just a little bit. Yeah. First off, it was so much better when the draft was on Saturday. I think we've talked about this before. I didn't get
Yes.
to watch it last night, and the fact that it was only one round, and then you have to wait until 7 o'clock tonight, Friday, for the second round, that just stinks.
It was so much better. I get it's never going back to the way it was. Um, but I stayed up because I was on
No,
baby
it's too much
duty.
of a.
I was on baby duty.
Did you have the
My
Knicks going on in the background though? Were you?
No, I was reading the book.
Yikes. Far different from when you lock in to Knicks playoff basketball and the NFL draft on a Thursday night. No,
Yeah.
reading a book and baby doing.
Oh yeah. I had all the lights off. I had the TV on mute, and I was trying to get through this book, which we'll get into later. Um, keyword being trying. Um,
Yeah.
and so I watched the first pick. My parents came over. We moved to the town next to my parents. They came over. My dad was like, "Hey, they're the third pick. We'll hang around for a little bit. The night will be over quick, and then we'll see you later." And I was like, "Cool, sounds good." They left about 3 or 4 picks later, and I stayed up. My wife fell asleep, so I was like, "Perfect." She's been, had a lot going on. Thomas is sick. Sen is sick. She took them both to the doctor yesterday. I was like, "Let me just hang with our daughter and give my wife a break." And I just stayed up, read, watched the draft on mute in the dark, and just read. And then I was like, these quarterbacks are falling. We might get a quarterback here.
Oh yeah,
And
you were thinking they're coming in.
yeah, I was like, okay, maybe like I'll stay up until I fall asleep, something like that. And then you know we have to pick like 17 or 18, and no quarterback had been taken.
Yep.
I was like, oh, we're solid. And then I kind of my energy perked back up. My attention left the book and returned to the draft a little bit. And the Giants took Jackson Dart in 24, 23, something like that. Traded back up.
24, maybe 26, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, something
doesn't
like that.
matter.
Yeah, and they gave up what they give up. So they gave up their second round picks. They don't have a pick today. They gave up one of their thirds and
They're
then a
supplemental
sixth.
third. They're third at the end of the round.
Right. And then a sixth. And then it might have been like a swap sixth. They might have gotten a fifth or a sixth next year.
And then a third next year.
Oh, it's the third next year. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they gave up all that much.
No.
That second round pick though, because I think they were going to be picking second or in the second round.
Well, you have to give up the second round pick.
Yeah, you had to give it up, but that to me looks juicy right now because you could have not given up anything, and Shadur Sanders and Jackson Dart might have still been there.
Yes, I have people saying that, hey, they gave up something even though the guy might have fallen. But
Yeah,
if the cost of getting your guy is a third round pick at the end of the third round and a third round pick next year, that's a very cheap price for
it is.
a
It is
guy you're
cheap.
confident in.
Yeah, I mean, if it works out, if he's the Giants quarterback for 5, 10 years or so, then an absolute no brainer.
Yeah.
My fear, though, is this is very similar to Daniel Jones, where Gettleman said, "Hey, if your guy is there, you take your guy." And my whole point was I don't care about the Daniel Jones draft pick. It was just nobody was taking him at 6. You could have moved back. You could have taken somebody else and moved up. Nobody wanted him anywhere near 6.
I have a little bit of an issue with that in that I think this pick was telegraphed not as badly as Jones was because people were like Giants love Jones. The cost for Jones was much higher. 6 versus the
20,
second. The second used to take him, and the third used to move up,
right?
hypothetically.
Yeah.
Versus the 6 overall is vastly different. I think this kid was a 4 or 5 star recruit, went to USC, and then
He was
played
the
in the
number one
SEC.
overall recruit. I think he was the number one overall recruit.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he was very, very high. He
Yeah.
went to USC and then played for Lane Kiffin. So I think Daniel Jones was a 1, 2, or 0 star recruit.
I'm not comparing them as potential quarterbacks. I'm just comparing them as both times the organization says we need to go get our guy. Even though the rest of the NFL says you could take him there, fine.
Well, the Rams supposedly liked him, and then as soon as he got picked, the Rams traded out. So maybe the Rams wanted that.
Okay.
So maybe the Rams would have taken our guy, and then you don't get your guy if you
Yeah,
wait.
I mean, it's deep. It's how much trust do you have in Shane and Dable? So my trust in both of those guys has fallen precipitously over the past couple of years. But they're saying they have Dart over Sanders. They said Dart is their guy, so you just have to trust in them. The good thing is that in the modern NFL, you don't really have to live with mistakes like these very long.
No. If
If you
he
make a
stinks,
miss with a first round quarterback, who cares? You suck next year anyway. You just do it over again.
yeah. If he stinks, then we're on to the next one. It's you burn a second round pick and a second and third round pick. Second and third round picks miss all the time. Every
Yeah,
pick misses all the time.
especially with the
Don't
Giants.
yeah. Don't be afraid to draft over your bad picks.
Yeah,
What killed Jones was they didn't pick Herbert the next year.
yeah.
They drafted Jones and then they
Well,
had
actually, you could probably make that same case now. So we took the second quarterback in a weak quarterback field. A lot of people were saying that he probably Jackson Dart maybe would have been like fourth, fifth, or sixth quarterback last year. And
yes.
this year's coming up is supposed to be pretty strong too. So yeah, it's just a crapshoot with quarterbacks. I never like it when you quote unquote reach for a quarterback. If they had kept it and if they had gotten like Jalen Milroe in like a late second or third round, I would have been okay with that.
Yeah. You just like Shane and Dable realized this is their guy.
This is their career in the Giants. If he
Correct.
works out, they keep their jobs. If he doesn't work out, they're gone.
Correct.
And
And I'm fine with that.
I don't even think
If
they
they're
can't
fine
sit
with
him.
that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I don't think they can sit him for a full year. Like no way.
If they win their first couple of games and Russell Wilson's looking okay, I have no reason to play him.
Except that if Russell Wilson wins the first couple of games, like what's the future there?
I think the future is that you have your job next year.
I don't know if they keep their job with Russell Wilson winning 7 or 8 games.
I think you would because you would be like, hey, Russell played well. We went 8
But
and 9.
now we
We're
get
getting
Dart.
better.
We'll
We
get
have
better
Dart
with
next
Dart.
year, and we have a top. We have a good pick. We'll add
Yeah, maybe.
you know.
Yeah, maybe. I think that they are now completely tied to Dart.
Oh yeah, because they can't whiff on the Jones contract and on the draft pick.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, you want to do like comparisons. I think Drew Lock was mid-20s draft pick to the Broncos.
I think he went second round. Oh,
I think he was late first, like mid
I don't
20s.
know. I can't
I'm
remember.
thinking about that. That's on my head, which is not a good thing. Obviously, Daniel Jones comparisons, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think he's in a fine situation. I have no idea why we have Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and this guy. It's just money being thrown away, which I don't understand, but whatever.
I don't think it matters because I don't think we're against the cap. Winston's on a 1-year deal, and they played. I mean, we've seen Jake Fromm, Tommy DeVito. We've
Yeah.
seen Terry
Yeah, I know.
O'Rourke,
Guys go down, guys get injured. Yeah.
Mike Glennon. Yeah,
But honestly, if you're looking for somebody to, is Russell Wilson and Jameis Wilson the two guys that you want kind of training your new quarterback? I don't know.
people love Jameis. I don't get it, but people love him.
As a buddy, yeah,
Yeah.
like a good guy to have in the locker room, buddy. Does he know the game ins and outs where he can explain it to another quarterback who doesn't like see and feel the same things he does? I don't know about that.
I like our quarterback. I like the 3 quarterbacks so much better this year than last year. They can throw the ball like There were
I
so few passing touchdowns from this Giants offense over the last 2 years.
feel like Dable
All
wasn't
three of
throwing
these
the
guys can
ball,
throw the ball
but
downfield.
that's part. Yeah, Dable just got gun shy for whatever reason. He was like it was like he wanted to lose by like one possession and was too afraid of getting like blown out.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever. Abdul Carter and the defense should be awesome. The defensive coordinator is what Bowen. What's his name?
yeah, I don't love him, but
I don't
Shane
love him
Bowen,
either, but you couldn't ask for any more tools. They
no.
went out and got secondary players. Hopefully they'll have a healthy linebacker core, and then this defensive front should be up there in the NFL.
If you told me for the rest of my life that the Giants' identity is a great pass rush, I would
Yeah,
take that.
yeah, that's it.
It's so fun
Yes.
to watch.
And hopefully this takes pressure off Thibodeau because he hasn't lived up to the top 5 pick. So maybe this takes a little pressure. Maybe they move him around. This is why, yeah, I don't know. I don't trust the defensive coordinator that much, but they have pieces on defense that should be good.
They should be better. They should be better.
Then 3 wins? Yeah, it should be better than 3 wins.
What do you think about Abdul Carter trying to get number 56?
Didn't hear that. Hate it.
Yeah, my dad was like, I don't care about if LT wants to give him his number. Who am I to say no? I don't
But
think he's gonna. I
what
think
if
he's
he
already walking it
stinks?
back.
What if he stinks around for like a year or two? Like, nah, maybe he can like graduate after his 3rd All Pro
Well,
and take
I
56.
kind of like this is it pains me to say a good thing about the Cowboys. I kind of like how the number 1 receiver on the Cowboys always wears number 88.
Yeah.
Michael Irving to Dez, to who's the guy now? CD Lamb.
Yeah, I agree. That is pretty cool. But that's such a wide receiver thing, especially a Dallas thing.
Yeah,
That's not a let's follow up Lawrence Taylor thing. Too much time has passed.
yeah. They should have given it to
I
Jesse
don't know.
Armstead or someone. Kavika Mitchell. No. Yeah, I mean, it's
No,
they're
that was the
better.
pick that they had to make. So fine. At least they're not complete idiots in the Giants front office because Abdul Carter was the pick. Like
Yes.
no doubt. No doubt about that. Had to take that.
And if Dart stinks and Shane and Dale get fired, I'm not going to cry into my cereal.
No, I'll look forward to that if that's the case, because then they are truly just bad talent evaluators and bad talent developers.
Yeah. I would not be super confident if I was Shane or Dable hitching my wagon to Jackson Dart.
They better be. I mean, they moved up for him. They could have waited and gotten Shadur Sanders.
Were you a Shador guy?
No,
Yeah, neither
but
was I.
Shadur in the 2nd round, fine, I'll take a shot.
Yeah.
And then
I guess
I keep both my thirds. Yeah.
there are studies that say that you should just take as many draft picks as possible because so many of these guys bust.
Draft picks or quarterbacks?
Both.
Okay.
Because so many bust that if you have, 10 flips of a coin and they're all heads or tails, you'd rather have 10 flips get 5 heads than.
Yeah. I mean, for as long as we've known each other, besides 2 Super Bowl years, we have always said trade down, get more picks. Trade down, get more picks.
The year they did it, they
not only that it's a crapshoot, it's just you need depth at offensive line and defensive line.
People get hurt.
Giants offensive line has been playing like practice squad guys because they don't have depth and they've been drafting terribly. You can't have enough of those guys.
I'm just happy that the Gettleman, Saquon, Jones era is over. This regime sinks or swims on the guys they pick now. Let's move forward.
That's right. They sink and swing on Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal,
Wandale Deontay Banks.
Was Wandale Robinson then? Deontay Banks.
Yeah, Wandale Robinson was this regime.
And now Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart. So, okay. Yeah. They could have hung their hat on that.
I mean, if you have 5 years of top 5 picks, your team should get better. The fact that we're not better.
If you're the Giants, you should be too. Like, yeah, I mean, you could talk about other franchises. Like, I don't get the Raiders going with Ashton Dente, but
no, I don't get it either.
Those are the franchises you kind of expect that stuff from. But yeah, I don't know. The Giants hopefully can get back to a relevant, just even remotely relevant would be nice. I mean, the NFC East is going to be so good as usual.
I talked to my dad last night. I'm worried that the Commanders ownership and organization now has their act together, and
I
they're
think they
no
do.
longer the mat. You
Yeah,
know,
they picked up a nice offensive lineman at the end of the first,
it was so
and
nice
they
to
picked
have
up
them in our
Devo,
division for
and they
15
picked up
years.
Devo in free agency, right? So they have like another weapon out there. Yeah, they're doing all the right things.
And they have a franchise quarterback on a
Yeah,
rookie deal.
they have their guy.
All right, onward and upward to sunnier things. Death's End by Cixin Louis. I haven't pronounced that name right in 3 books. This is the third book. I'm not going to get it right now. Quick synopsis of Death's End. After an uneasy balance established in the Dark Forest, humanity enters a fragile era of peace, overseen by a delicate deterrent system. Into this new age steps Zhang Ji, an aerospace engineer from the past awakened into the future. Her idealism and compassion make her stand out, but they also come into conflict with the cold realities of a universe where survival is the highest priority.
This reading this book, all of these, but this one I think especially was so conflicting because I was so interested in it because of the science fiction pieces and the technology and everything that he was talking about. Because this guy is just he's on a different level of just I don't even know if it's intelligence, but it just seems like he knows so much about all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so like interested in that as if it's like a subject, but reading through it in the way that he puts it in the storytelling was brutal.
I'm going to lead in with my thoughts. Our rubric is 10 to 9, anything from 9 to 10 must read, from 7 to 8.9 should read,
Yeah.
5.0 to 6.9 read if interested in the topic, 3.0 to 4.9 don't recommend reading, zero point 0 to 2.9 couldn't get through it. This will fall and they couldn't get through it.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, I just like the second book, just like Dark Forest, there were chapters, there were passages where I'm like, let's go, we got it, we're gonna
Right.
start rolling, we're gonna start
Why
getting
are
it,
we doing this? Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh my god, this grinds to a halt, talking about dimensions, and the really thing that bothered me so much was when Shang-Chi visits, again for people watching, we just do discussion. This is spoilers. This is
Yeah.
not like more. This is discussing the book. Visits the brain of her like long lost love interest. He's more interested in her
Guy
than
that
she in
loved
him.
her. Yeah.
Guy who loved her, and he starts telling her he's kind of captured her prisoner of the Trisolarans, and he starts telling her this cryptic fairy tales that an allegory for how to solve this problem. When you are writing an allegory, the reader should know what each character in this story really relates to or really is a metaphor for. When it was 40 pages of these fairy tales
He put
about,
3 short stories in his novel.
and we had no relation to what the umbrellas were, what the graphite was, what the place was.
No, we had to piece that together after the fact with
They
all
just
the
they just
stories.
explained it like next 4 like chapters later. There's like, oh, this is. I'm like, it should be a mystery for the reader to be like, all right, he's talking about a man in a black mask, and that's actually the executioner. Like George R. R. Martin does these all the times, where a character has a dream, and then like, oh, the young lion. The young lion's actually
Right.
really like a Lannister prince. Yada yada.
Yeah, I just thought that those short stories should have been 3 pages, not 40 plus
I
each of them.
thought they were going to be 3 pages
I
when he
couldn't believe that I was reading a short stories within this massive, intense novel. Like that
with
was
Princess Bubble and Prince Ice Pick or
I
Ice,
know like all of the detail too, like all of the detail within that stories. I was like, I got to remember these characters now and go through all this.
uh, I'm trying to make. All right, so who's going to be Prince? I know it's not the exact names. Prince
Right.
Ice Pick. Who is Princess Bubble? Who is the where is this land that is like, oh, this land is like a really different name that everyone out, and it was like, oh, have you been to Norway? Like this guy's girlfriend. I'm like, that's when it's like, have you been to you were saying a Norway place in your sleep? I'm like, he didn't figure it out. He just talked in his sleep, and his Norwegian girlfriend told him
Figured
that's
it out.
where it is. Like, that's not figuring it out.
When I first got to that part of the book where he was starting to tell the stories, I was actually excited. I was like, "Oh,
So
cool!
was I.
I can kind of play around with this, and I can figure it out as we're going on." But then, as I'm reading through the pages, I was like, "You got to be kidding me! I just want to get to the end of this, and then just give it to me. Like somebody tell me what the answer to this is, because I'm done trying to figure it out."
I spent the whole I literally read those parts so carefully for about an hour, trying to be like, okay, so what? Here's the answer. How am I gonna figure it out?
Yeah, soap and bubbles and everything.
I lost my. That's when I was like, all right. I literally looked it up. I went like AI. What's the summary for this book? Let me
Yeah.
like after like I read another 100 pages more, and it wasn't really coming up a lot more. I'm like, oh, those allegorical fairy tales are not coming up a lot anymore. I mean, and then I was like, all right, so how does this book end? I'm
Then they were
lost.
they were sprinkled throughout the next 300 pages. Just little sprinklings of them through in the 300 pages.
Yeah, and then it was there are some cool parts when they run into the ring in that
Yeah.
4D dimension, which is like
Yeah.
I am a tomb.
Right.
I was like,
Cool.
cool. What is this? Yeah,
But nothing. That was just like one little tiny fracture that you kind of get back to at the end. You didn't have to you didn't have to spend pages and pages on that.
that was such a cool passage.
It was a cool passage, but I don't think you needed like all the lead up to it, like the guys on the ships where they're finding different holes dimensions and things weren't making sense on the ship and there was a meteorite that came into the ship, like just speed it up. It's not the focal point of the story. It's one piece of the story.
It's all these little details about dimensions and warps, and the story gets like, what is the story?
They lost it completely. I think the story got lost through all of the descriptions. That's what I was saying. Like the description, I was so interested in all the topics, but like I need a semester. I need like a semester just to focus on that one book to go over everything. Reading it in like 2 weeks and then trying to deal with it, it's way too overwhelming. It read
And
more like a textbook. Let's say that. It read more like a textbook than like a novel.
so much so. The really cool part was when the Trisolarans attack Earth. The droplets just pierce Earth all the way through, and then the world is like, all right, now just go to Australia. I'm like, the Earth has magma holes in it now. Like, we're just gonna go to the continent. Like,
There's a lot of he gets in such detail about the different technology, but then there's some things that happen that he doesn't cover at all.
no, the destruction of Earth was barely covered. Wasn't
Like
covered.
poking holes in the earth, everyone, millions of people going to Australia, then moving back. The details of how we all of a sudden are capable of like having um, bases basically like built out in the outer solar system in just like a couple hundred years. Like all that stuff is just, it's such a cool part of the story, but that's not the science he focuses on. He focuses on all this other science that
Of
is so far fetched.
dimensions and 4D and which is stuff I'm not really that interested. Like, I sure if it is compelling, I'll go with you. But
Yeah.
I'm like, if you say, hey, you can learn about dimensions and everything, or like a new technology used to save the world, I'm more in the let's go over this new technology used to save the
Right.
world.
Instead of, so he's describing in one part our solar system. So the sun and all the planets basically being warped into a two-dimensional plane, right? So everything is being sucked down the drain. He covered each of the planets like individually and how they were pictured as they were going. You don't need it. Like one of them will do. Say the rest of them followed in the same path. It was a nice picture, and you save us pages and pages of reading.
And now to go with the characters, Chang-Chi, I don't need these like lily white milk toast, nicey nice characters. We just had the whole book. The book two was the guy who was nicey nice.
Lu Ji, yeah.
Yeah,
And then this girl just comes in also as like picked out of the blue. It's the third book in a row where there's been three different main characters.
I get it. Like, also, like it's going over hundreds of years and thousands of years. maybe that's why it's hard to kind of get a grasp. But if you're asking me, would I rather have like this science fiction 1,000-year epic, or in space, or Star Wars in space, where they cover
Yeah.
8 years? Or I
Yeah.
doubt the original trilogy covered 8 years. It probably covered four or five, maybe. Like that's
Yeah.
just a better contained story.
But remember last time we were talking about the second book and we are like, all right, let's predict what's going to happen. I forgot what we said,
I
but
know what I said.
I think we were both joking around like, yeah, it's probably going to be a completely different character and it's probably going to have nothing to do with this. This book started off that way, talking about this girl instead. And all I was thinking was just like, you got to be kidding me. This is going to be a completely different book again with barely a link. We got the link to the old book at like the last quarter of this book.
The first book is so much better than the second two.
Yes.
We chose to, like, hey, let's do this a series for the first time because we liked the first book. And I was like,
Thinking
did
it
I
was a
like the
series.
first book? It was so interesting.
Thinking it was a series. This I have a hard time describing as a series. This is just three separate textbooks on kind of the same subject, and that subject is humans.
The invasion of the Trisolarans, which we
That
know.
wasn't even really a part of this one. Like all of a sudden in this book, the Trisolarans are just like, yeah, whatever. They're just another figure, and then they get destroyed and they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone before you
meet the new villain.
Before she goes to meet the brain, or I know he's not the brain, but that's what I'm calling him.
Yeah. They're gone. They're gone early in the book.
Well, the humans in one of the space stations let off that signal.
Yeah.
And then the Dark Force theory comes into practice, and they get annihilated.
Yeah.
And like 1/100th of them survives.
Crazy. When we were getting to the end of the book, where we're introduced to, I don't know, who do you want to call these guys? Like the master aliens who were actually like sending out the star, whatever. The only thing I was thinking of, you remember Men in Black, the first one, at the end of the movie, where you have the big alien figure and he's playing around with the galaxy. It's like a marble.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking of the whole time.
I mean, I didn't even get there.
Yeah, that was the last, I don't know, sixth of the book, maybe not even that much. That was at the very end. So we're all of a sudden just introduced to this character who seems like just an entity basically sitting at a computer and like he's got a number crunching job, but his number crunching are like seeing when they need to destroy a star. Yeah, basically, the way to describe it is that, so we're in this dark forest, right? Nobody wants to see each other, but then there's a sniper.
Yeah.
Who can see down on the whole forest. So as soon as he sees like a fire get lit or a shot go off, he puts a sniper on it and he destroys whatever that is.
Yeah, they talk about it earlier in the book where it's like they're casual and efficient, where they don't even look into, is this.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So when they ask, I guess they asked the Trisolarans, is there a way to send out a safety signal that like, hey, we're out here, but we're.
Yes.
Does that amount to anything? Do they send out that signal that we're out here, but we're peaceful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. And so this sniper guy doesn't kill them?
No, he does. He destroys our solar system. So we didn't send out that, hey, we're safe signal.
Really?
Right. Yes. So instead, this sniper guy is basically talking about our solar system, be like, I could just shoot at the sun and blow up the sun, but that might not kill the whole solar system. So instead, I'm going to use this other weapon, which takes our whole solar system and flattens it into two-dimensional space. And then once our solar system is destroyed, then our two main characters go into light speed, go into a different whatever, galaxy, whatever you want to call it, and they meet a human being.
What?
They land on a planet. They meet a human being from one of these other, are the spaceships. I forget what they call, Blue something and Gravity, I think, were the spaceships.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get dragged down by like another human being who was one of the science officers on one of the ships.
Yeah, that is one thing that is annoying. It's like, how he talks about how vast space is and how it takes thousands of years to get to a place, but also there's a lot of run-ins.
Yeah, there are a lot of run-ins.
Like, oh, you're here. What's going on?
Human,
Like
yeah, human. You seen any aliens? Nah, I haven't seen them.
the brain goes off course in the first like quarter of the book, and like, oh, we got him back. I'm like, I thought he was like he's like lost forever.
Yeah, they
Obviously, you
do.
know that he's coming back, but
There is a lot of that. It towards the end of the book, it just kind of gets crazy too in terms of time. This was a really interesting theme, I guess, actually, towards it is that they were talking about like how do we keep record of human civilization? Like, what's the best way to do so? Right? Did you get to that part at all?
no.
No. All right. So you said,
I
how?
got like 75% of the way through, and then
What's the best way to do so? Is it to like put it on a CD-ROM or like some type of hard drive or
floppy
whatever? And
disk.
they're like, no, those are like 1,000 years, 500 years, whatever. They're saying like the only evidence we have of something lingering is to carve it in rock.
Interesting.
If you think about the history of the Earth being whatever 4 billion years old, yeah, we see things in rock that kind of tell us about that have lasted that time period.
How do you prevent the rock from blowing up?
You're not blowing up, but I guess over time it'll eventually be covered and whatever magma will cover over it, anything. But it was the most viable source for maintaining information versus like a CD or a USB drive or even like a quantum computer system. Those things just like wouldn't last, they said. So instead, they carve a message in rock that lasted, I think, 18 million years before the person came back and saw it.
I would maybe I'll listen to an interview with the author, what he was looking to accomplish. But it's
Oh
definitely
man, it
a
didn't
book
it didn't end either.
without story and without characters.
It didn't end either. There wasn't any satisfying end.
Once I read the end on Wikipedia and then I checked somewhere else, I was like, I'm not like I just lost all because I would rarely do it unless I certainly like I needed some grounding to figure out what's happening and
Mhm.
what's going on in the book. I would never look ahead. But in this case, I did, and then once I did, and I saw the unsatisfying end, I
Yeah,
just lost all momentum.
yeah, it was very unsatisfying.
Yeah, it's a kind of a disappointing book because the first one was so good. He's clearly so intelligent. His intention was not to create a satisfying end.
I also don't think he was, and again, maybe we're putting this in the novel character. Maybe it wasn't because this was written in China and Chinese. Maybe this was more of like a textbook rather than a novel.
Well, when
Because
you learn it, the textbook teaches you something. You don't learn anything in here, really.
I don't think you learn anything, but man, it opens your head up to so many different things, so many different concepts, so many different just out of mind, out of ordinary science fiction pieces. The way he described it is that, hey, we're really not that far off. Like these civilizations within the book, we go from, flying a spaceship to the moon to being able to have people on the other end of our solar system in like 300 years or 200 years.
Yeah, he lost me. This was a lot more dimensional than the other two books.
The dimensions was a crazy piece. Like we got that in the first one. Remember when they were talking about the Sophon and how they split the Sophon into different dimensions? That was in the
Yeah,
first book, I think.
yeah.
So yeah, then we started talking about
I
dimensions.
didn't love it there either.
Now I remember you saying that. Yeah, that part didn't do it for you.
When it's like, remember when the spaceship is like missing the last third, and it's like on
Yeah,
an angle, and like
yeah.
her legs are like completely like off, like she doesn't have her legs,
Mm-hmm.
and then and like minutes later she's fine because her legs are just in another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
I do not get that. How your legs are just in.
I think it's just that our eyes can see in 3D. We can't see in 4D.
So it's not a wound. It's like how is.
It's all there. It's just we don't have the eyes for it. Like it's still there. It's still there. You just can't see it.
But if you put your hand out where her foot would be, would you touch her foot?
If you put it through the dimension
Yeah, I
too.
guess you would. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you wouldn't see your hand either because your
No,
hand is out.
but
Yeah.
you can probably touch it on the other side. But that's what I was saying. Where it's kind of cool. They're like, you can't touch things because you'd be touching like your hands open up, so it'd be like the nerves and the cells within your hands are now exposed to be touching stuff. Yeah, that the whole dimensional stuff was just a crazy little twist that they threw in there on top of everything else.
I don't get how this series got so popular. I don't get how they tried to make a TV show out of this series.
I've watched a couple episodes of the TV show. They combine pieces from all of the books. It's not like following the series at all from a book standpoint.
Was it a miniseries? Or are they trying to do multiple seasons? Because
Multiple series, multiple seasons.
how do they explain it well or not really? Because the book, you could argue, does not explain it well.
So the TV show did a very good job of taking this and making it into an entertaining TV show. I'll say that. But it has if you watch the TV show and read the book, you don't think you're doing the same thing. Same concept really, but you don't think you're not getting anything similarity wise.
Yeah. I think it's by the Game of Thrones guys.
E.B. Dubois or whatever his name is.
David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Yeah, Benoit. Yep.
So, I mean, it won the Hugo Award. This book was a finalist for the Hugo Award in 2017 for Best Novel.
Yeah, I actually got this was a physical book that I got from the library, so I read like a little summary about the author afterwards. Yeah, he won a bunch of awards.
I had a real hard time with the lack of fundamental storytelling and character development.
Yeah, it wasn't a novel. I can't. I have a hard time saying that this was a novel to read. This was like a textbook.
Yeah, I don't say textbook. I say like scientific musing. It's like a guy just inventing a world and just like, oh, I'll take it here, I'll take it there, I'll link it here. This could happen, and then this would happen. But there's no like, okay, here's a story arc. This is the, rising action. This is the conflict. This is the resolution.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like he had scientific theories and he put stories to them instead
Bingo.
of having a story and throwing in some scientific. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, he started with the science and then backed into the storyline to try and go with it.
Yeah.
Crazy. This
All
guy,
right.
like, holy smokes, to write like this is. I'm trying to think of who. I don't think I know anybody besides a couple of people you see on Instagram or YouTube or whatever who would like understand these concepts and be able to have a conversation with this author about some of these things.
Yeah, my friend who recommended it is like the guy who was the smartest guy from like second grade on.
Yeah.
He's like super smart guy. I'm going to text him. I'm going to send him these videos after.
Oh, good. Yeah.
See what he thinks about it. But I kind of said my piece about it. I was underwhelmed. The first book, I wish they got back to the mysteries. Give me one mystery or something. That's what I thought the fairy tales were going to be. They're going to be all right. So this is going to be the action we should take. They're going to try and figure out what all these allegories are, or what all these metaphors are.
Yeah, and again, I thought that would be a couple pages, but we got so far into those little stories. Gosh, we got so far into this. It was such a rabbit hole. Those freaking stories within the book.
And she's like, what was it, like curled acceleration or whatever? It's
Curvature.
Like curvature acceleration, something like that. Yeah.
Very cool concept also. And that's the stuff that like kept me going. That's the stuff that like kept me interested in it. But then they really didn't even cover that, like the technology behind that all that much. It was just all of a sudden, yeah, we have one of these engines and it works.
Yeah.
Curvature propulsion.
I did like the part when humanity's falling apart in Australia because all of humanity has to go to this one island for jail or for confinement. That was interesting, but again, they could have done more with her. The main Sophon villain was cool until the Trisolarans died, and then she's like just an avatar for their whole civilization, and then she's like, oh, our civilization's dead, I'm shutting down now.
She comes back.
Oh, I kind of like that.
He comes back.
Oh,
Not in a threatening way. She comes back as kind of like I'm trying to think of like sci-fi. She comes back as basically just like an artificial intelligence. She's like Alexa, like Alexa.
who's the I forget what it is in iRobot. Um,
Uh, the
I,
robot Sunny.
I forget.
That was the robot's name. Think of it.
Mm,
Think she comes back as like an Alexa. Yeah, where she can access data and run computations and whatever. She's basically there to help them through the period that they're in.
yeah. Um, I did love. I'm looking at my highlighted parts that I just took. Um, Mundicide. So homicide's killing a human.
Yeah.
Regicide is killing a king. Mundicide. I'm like, this has to be like just from context, like destroying a world, destroying a civilization,
Yeah.
which it is. But if you look up the word, the
I think.
first definition is on like Star Wars Wikipedia.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, I think mundo is Spanish for world.
yeah. So that makes sense if it's Latin-based language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Telemundo, Teleworld, or
Oh, yeah. There you go.
um,
What did you think about when they did go to Norway or whatever, and all of a sudden they're in like this huge whirlpool and figuring things out?
I had one foot out the door at that point.
Yeah.
That's like I did read that, and I was like,
I
"There's
was
that
trying to
one
get.
man like
I was trying
this
to
is
get through
more
that as
expensive.
fast.
Let me build a lighthouse."
Yeah. I was trying to get through that because at that point in the book, I kind of knew like there might be a fragment of something like really important here, so I was flying through that as much as I could.
Yeah, that was like that's if I didn't have one foot out the door at that point, that's when I got one because I didn't think they was that compelling.
Yeah.
Because that was I thought I can't emphasize enough how much I thought this is my last point. How much I thought the fairy tale thing was gonna be kind of cool because the secret way describe the
Yep.
situation he's in and how to solve and
Same
save the
boat.
world.
I was excited to start reading that. I remember I was reading that like on the couch pretty late, and I made the effort to stay up. I was like, let me get through this part because I'm awake and getting through it. But that took so much wind out of my sails trying to get through that.
Yeah, and not to belabor the point, and there's a very famous Night of the Laughing Tree in Song of Ice and Fire that does a similar thing where you tell them a story that's actually using, you know, not real names to illustrate a point or to, solve a mystery. And that's just done so much better. And it's a famous passage. And this is just, oh my gosh, I was so bummed. I was so
Yeah,
bummed. All right. Next book I think is gonna be pretty good.
I,
Hopefully.
I picked it up.
I'm getting it from the library, hard copy coming at you.
Yeah, me too. You're gonna be pleasantly surprised. It's like this thick, and the words are pretty big. So we'll get through this
Let's
one pretty quick.
go. What's the title? The book is about the true story of the Trojan War.
Did you look up a summary?
No.
Yeah, I don't know actually if that's 100% true. I was just looking on the title page, and it said something like "Why We Fight Wars."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think I left it. Oh no, wait, I got it right here. What are the real lessons of war? The true story of Homer's Iliad and the Trojan War. So yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be like a historical interpretation of the war or more of like why were these
Story's important.
stories important and why would this war occur if this war occurred?
I think actually might like that more than the true
The
story of the
history
Trojan
of the
War
war? Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because
I've
they don't
seen enough
know. Yeah.
movies and watched enough TV shows about the Iliad. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the true story. Yeah, I'm curious to see what direction this goes.
Awesome. I'm gonna give it this book in honor of Abdul Carter. Give it a 1-3.
Do you think that's the number he's going with?
I think that's first round pick, third
Oh,
overall.
interesting. Okay, first round pick. Okay, gotcha. I'm just looking on some. Yeah, I'm kind of talking about my list. Okay, so Blood and Thunder was a 3 for me. So this I'll give a 3-2.
3-2 for Alex Orlando. 1-3 for Matt Wynn.
Yeah, and I'm looking
Okay.
at our recent numbers. We need a banger. We haven't had a banger in a while.
I know it
This
sucks.
is.
I liked Snows of Kilimanjaro a lot,
Yeah.
and I liked Last Kingdom was so good. Maybe we'll
Last.
read another Last Kingdom. That's more a wintertime book.
Oh, I'm very ready for that next one. Whenever you are.
Did you read it?
I did the book on tape for the second one.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I might do a book on tape for the first one too, because I told you I like lived watching. I've watched that TV series like so many times over and over again. It
It's
was
so
so
good.
easy to do the book on tape because I knew all the characters and I knew basic plot, so I didn't have to have 1,000% focus like I did if I was reading something new.
What's and just what's the official title of the Trojan War book?
The War That Killed Achilles.
Great title.
Yeah. It just so happens to I'm listening to. You ever listen to Dan Carlin's podcast, Hardcore History?
Next question. Of
Yeah.
course.
I just got into a kick with that. Like over the past couple weeks or so, I just got on one and I'm hooked on it. And it's about Alexander, and obviously that covers and talks about some of the ancient Greek stuff. So this is good timing because I'm very mentally in that realm or that time period.
I have a history podcast that's arguably better than Hardcore History.
No, don't tell me that. I don't need another podcast.
I have to tell you,
All right, tell me.
the rest is history.
The,
It's two British guys who are so likable, so informed. We'll read one of their books as we go, Tom
Okay.
Holland, and it's 1 hour episodes. And sometimes do multi-part, so it's like
yeah.
4 episodes on, the Punic Wars, whatever.
This makes me miss my 1.6 mile walk to work in the city that I did every day.
Yeah, dude, you gotta check it out. The rest of history.
All right, yeah, just add it to the list.
Well, you can just go through, like, scroll through their topics and pick out a topic that you like. They've been doing it for a while.
I just don't have the podcast time anymore.
Totally agree. Especially I have a longer commute, and I'm reading on the commutes now.
Yeah,
and I'm running a lot less.
Yeah,
podcasts. I haven't been able to like lower my amount of podcasts in months.
This Dan. Once you go in the Dan Carlin loophole, you're screwed because they're like
so
4 hour episodes, and that's all you're doing. And you gotta like pay attention to those, and yeah, that just consumes you.
Well, if you're on Alexander kick,
yes.
I think there's an episode that Dan Carlin and the rest is history guys did together. That's like Best Conquerors. It's so good.
Gosh.
I remember listening to it. I'm like, oh my, this is like made for me. It was so good. And it talks about Alexander. Oh, you gotta check it out. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. All good, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, man. Good
War
stuff.
That Killed Achilles coming at you next. We'll figure out time to record.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, take it easy.